Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Carissa Egan and I'm joined today by my colleagues Tara Carpenter and Jill Scarson. Um, we are your Palace team here at Lyrasis within the ebooks and community engagement division. And today we're going to kind of talk through Palace 101, really high level overview of the entire Palace project. Hopefully that's what you were planning on hearing about today. So let me here move my slide. There we go. Again, super high level. These sessions, if you have ever talked to any of the three of us, are very informal. So please don't hesitate to jump in with questions in the chat. We have plenty of time reserved at the end as well to answer questions. But don't hesitate to jump in. We'll be monitoring the chat as we're talking today, and we'll address questions as they come in as well. I'm going to talk kind of through the high level, what is Palace, what makes it unique. Um, Tara's going to give a live demo to show you how the Palace app works. Jill is going to walk through some of our partner use cases or spotlights. And so hopefully that kind of trio of information will be kind of a comprehensive background for all of you who might be new to Palace. We're going to assume that you don't know anything about the Palace project or haven't heard anything about it, but I'm sure for many of you that some of this might be review. So apologies there. Of course, I have to start with the kind of the vision behind the Palace project. Um, it's really a partner project with our library stakeholder community. We view all of the existing users of Palace and any new members of our community truly as partners, and we take all of their feedback into consideration as we're prioritizing next steps in moving the platform forward. So I won't read all of the text on the slide verbatim. But the one thing I do want to note on this slide is we often get asked, and I would be remiss not to cover this in a 101, is why is it called Palace? And so many of you may have heard the quote, libraries are palaces for the people, which I believe was originally conceptually from Andrew Carnegie and then popularized by Eric Kleinenberg. So that quote really resonated with the original Palace team as well as the initial library stakeholders who were part of the initial kind of branding for the project. So that's the background with the name. Again, I would be remiss not to take a walk down memory lane and give you a little bit of background about the project, which started in the spring of 2019 as a collaborative effort between Lyrasis, the Digital Public Library of America, and the New York Public Library, collaborating on the open source software that originally was built at the New York Public Library called Library Simplified, Simply E. Kind of fast forward to today, we have over 700 libraries live in the Palace app. The project now is fully contained within Lyrasis. Originally, it was funded by the Knight Project, or the Knight Grant, excuse me, the Knight Foundation via a grant. There we go. Um, and again, is now housed within the ebooks and community engagement division within Lyrasis in its entirety. And there's a lot of components, which I'll talk about, that comprise the Palace project. Of our 700 libraries, we have a handful, the majority are from public libraries, but we do have a handful of academic libraries using Palace as well. And I know there might be some Lyrasis members from academic libraries on the session today, so please don't hesitate to put your questions in here as well. So as I mentioned, Lyrasis, the Palace project is comprised of multiple components. Of course, there is the mobile application called Palace that's available for free in your app store. There's a back end to the project called the Collection Manager, or the CM as we fondly call it, which is not only where the team here configures libraries, but where you as library administrators view the collections that are integrated into Palace as an aggregator app, but also view your circulation statistics and configure the look and feel of the app that your patrons then interact with. So you can create custom lanes of content to highlight certain collections or initiatives, whatever it might be. Also within the Palace ecosystem is a marketplace where you can optionally purchase content from various publishers, the big five, as well as some exclusive content in the marketplace. Again, that's entirely optional. Uh, it, users of Palace Library or library partners are not obligated to buy content in the marketplace. It's just there as an additional pathway for purchasing content. And we also have a free collection of content, primarily public domain content, but also open access materials curated in the Palace bookshelf. So that is a free feed of over 30,000 titles that are available to our partner libraries who launch Palace. But it is also a free library in the Palace app. So if you downloaded it today, you would have access to that library, and you could read content from it today without any need for a library card or an account. For libraries who do not have an authentication system for their patrons that we support, which I'll talk about here in a minute, or are unautomated, as there are quite a few in our smaller rural areas that we support, we have a virtual library card option that we deploy for libraries in lieu of a more standard ILS or for universities, a SAML or a Shibboleth system that we would typically integrate with in Palace. So for the smaller libraries who are unautomated, we offer a virtual library card service. So these one, two, three, four, five kind of major components are what comprise the Palace project. You might be asking yourself, okay, so Palace is an aggregator app, like what are the benefits here? And of course, the major benefit that we tout is the fact that it is an aggregator app. So it's pulling together content from multiple sources in one unified interface. And Tara will display how that appears to your patrons here in a moment. And I'll talk through the specifics of what integrations we support as well. But generally, the idea is that we streamline and simplify access to content for your patrons or your customers or users. I know libraries use different terms for the community that they serve. We also have unique content and innovative partnerships when it comes to content that we're offering in our Palace Marketplace, as well as in our third-party agreements. So we have some unique options available as well, in addition to the kind of standard content providers in this space, Overdrive, Baker and Taylor, Cloud Library being the big vendors, I guess, distributors of content for public libraries that we also integrate with. The app itself, if you're not familiar, and as I mentioned, Tara will demo, is designed for discovery. So it has a very modern and streamlined look and feel. And I think different from other mobile apps that provide access to digital content, our goal is to maximize access to materials. So collectively, the app is prioritizing content that's available. Patrons can still find the most popular titles and place a hold, and of course, then when their place in line comes up, read or listen to those titles. But our goal is to also surface content that's deeper within libraries' collections as well, that users within your community might also like to take advantage of. And the kind of streamlined nature of the app also lends itself to making it more accessible and easier to use, lowering that barrier to leveraging digital technology. And that's something that is high on our radar collectively as a team within the Palace Project, and of course within Lyrasis itself as a not-for-profit, really focusing on accessibility of all of the technologies that we support. Accessibility is never an end game. You're always on the path to making things more and more accessible, and that's how we think about it with every development sprint, with every meeting we have to prioritize our development. Kind of what's the next thing that we can do to make the app easier to use for everyone. I promised I would talk through the integrations. I know this is a common question when we're talking about Palace, just generally, okay, who do you integrate with? What content providers? What discovery layers? What authentication mechanisms? So this is a whole bunch of logos smattered on the screen, lots of colors. But as I mentioned, for public libraries, the main licensed content providers, Overdrive, Baker and Taylor Cloud Library, can be integrated into Palace. We also, as I mentioned, have our Palace Marketplace and the Palace Bookshelf, content from BiblioBoard, from the unique agreements that the BiblioBoard product has with publishers. Typically, simultaneous use, perpetual content in collections is available through BiblioBoard. And then for our academic partners, we have integrations with ProQuest and several different open access feeds from OAPN, from University of Michigan Press, their ebook, open access ebook collection, and then the Casalini Tarosa open collection as well. We can currently integrate with and pull that content in. And really, in the academic space, any OPDS feed of open materials can be integrated into Palace. These are just kind of the more known corpuses that we currently integrate with. We integrate with Aspen Discovery, and the team at Bywater has been really great to collaborate with from a discovery layer perspective. And then from a patron authentication perspective, public libraries, main ILS vendors, so Innovative Interfaces, III, Cersei Dynex, TLC, kind of the main providers of ILSs we integrate with, either via SIP2 or for III. We can also take advantage of the Patron API integration. And then for our academic library partners, your SAML or Shibboleth, or as I like to call it, your Shamleth, uh, uh, systems we can integrate with. Those are, they're all very bespoke, typically at university IT, in university IT departments, but we can integrate with those systems as well. So that enables your users to use the same credentials that they use to access your other digital content in Palace as well. So for public libraries, it's typically a library barcode and PIN. Obviously, for universities, it's typically an email address or a net ID and a password. Those same credentials can be used in Palace as well. And then the last thing I'll cover from a high-level perspective before we jump into the demo is the covering the unique content and partnerships that we have built within the Palace project. So some of you might be familiar with the fact that Lyrasis and the Palace project has a unique agreement with Amazon Publishing and Audible Studios to be the only distributor that currently sells to public libraries. And so the list on the screen is all of the Amazon Publishing imprints. I had no idea that there were actually so many of them. And the types of work that they're publishing. I think the most frequently purchased content, I will say, from our public libraries, though, is the Audible Studios content. Specifically, the most recent edition, the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, is available in the Palace Marketplace and has seen a lot of uptake within our public library partners. Additionally, through a partnership with the Indie Author Project, we have a select collection of content, highly vetted, very high quality, that is obviously authored by indie authors. That's available as well within the Palace Project. You'll see Melissa Bobie on the screen. She's the 2024 Indie Author of the Year. And our sister project within the eBooks and Community Engagement Division, the IAP project, annually does a call in April for the annual contest. So we're constantly building that collection of indie author titles as well that are available to libraries, which we think is a really unique offering as well. Finally, I'll note that One of the kind of core tenets of the Palace Project, in addition to being a not-for-profit and highlighting accessibility and lowering the barrier to accessing digital technologies, is really working with publishers to provide access to other license models to public libraries that ideally are more beneficial to public libraries. And one of the most recent offerings that we were able to make available to public libraries is the ebook ownership model. And so on the screen, you'll see a snapshot of what that looks like in our Palace Marketplace. It essentially allows you, as a public library, when you purchase this copy of a title, to have the ownership rights, which means that at any point in the future, you can transfer that digital content to another platform. You can self-host the material. You can update the format for preservation purposes. Really, it's kind of the legal framework behind that digital copy that is unique in this case. And of course, as we're having conversations, again, the royal we with other publishers, we're pushing them to make other license models available to public libraries to really expand access. I think with that, I will transition to Tara to give a demo and show you all what Palace looks like. So let me stop sharing my screen and I'll let you take over, Tara.
All right, thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Tara Carpenter, and I'm just going to go ahead and share my phone here. So bear with me for one sec. Okay. Okay, screen share. Okay, hopefully my phone will pop up here in one moment. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yes, we can now.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so just let me know as I go if you want to go over something. I'm minimizing my video, so if someone can just speak up and let me know and I'll go over it for you. So a few things we want to talk about. And Carissa, thank you for the great lead in here. And you already touched on some of these points. I'll just reiterate. So the Palace Project app is available on both iOS and Android phones and tablets. It is available to be downloaded now from your Google Play Store or iOS App Store. It has a very streamlined design, and it was created with a real focus on ease of use. So you'll kind of see that as we go through the features here. We're really trying to be open and welcoming and inclusive of all users, especially new app users. And it seems like, how could there be new app users? But there are, and we do hear from them all the time. So this is really meant to be, inclusive of everyone. While using the app, it's simple to download the app, to browse, search, and read or listen within the app itself. It's an aggregator app, and you'll see within here as I show you the content from all of your collections that are configured, whether it's just one collection or multiple ones. All of that content will be mixed together when people are browsing or searching, so your patrons or app users won't even necessarily know that content is all mixed together like that. It just looks like one, massive collection of everything together in one place. And when we configure the app for every library, we always make sure to feature what is available now. So when people are browsing, everything that surfaces to them should be available right now to check out. So like Carissa said, if you come in here with the intention of looking for, a popular bestseller book, and if you search for that, of course, it might be on hold. You can place it on hold. But our hope and our goal is that there's always something else that people find while they're browsing around that is available right now that they would love to check out while they wait for their hold. And also the app is customizable to feature content that's important to your community. So I'll go through and I'll show you what do I mean by that. So first off, this is our demo library. It's called Main Street City Library. So you'll see at the top, there is this logo here. And as I scroll through the catalog, you'll see the logo persists. And that's the case for every library configured here. So your patrons know when they get here, this is your instance in the app. It's not, the Palace app, it's your library's app. And you'll be able to customize the way you feature content if you'd like to, if you have the time and inclination to do so. But you don't have to, So out of the box, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down our catalog. You'll see it will come automatically with the following lanes or horizontal carousels including fiction, nonfiction, young adult fiction, children middle grade, and world languages. And then within each of those categories, you can drill down, and then there are sublanes and subgenres to narrow down that kind of browsable search. Additionally, if you scroll up here, you can see these are our custom lanes. So this is one of the highly customizable features within the app. And this happens in our backend software, which is called the Palace Collection Manager. And your library staff members can go ahead and create all of these different custom lists and lanes to curate that content to, be featured for an event or a program at your library. Or if you want to feature certain content, like you can see here with Audible, if you buy an Audible collection, it's really popular. There's Bloomsbury here. So you can see there's all different ways to use this for your book club is another way to say, okay, every month we're adding our book club collection into this list so your patrons know you can go find it here to check out. So you can see there's lots of different ways to do this. So you can also, have them and switch them out, or there's ways to make them visible and invisible on the back end. So there's a lot of fun ways, and we have lots of training videos, and our team can also help you if you're interested in learning more about that aspect of it. But that's a nice way you can curate and customize in the app. So here, when you're looking at the catalog screen, you'll see up across the top, we call it the format bar. It says all ebooks and audiobooks, and that's going to filter the search. If you are a person that doesn't matter about the format to you, you can leave it on all. That's the default. That's going to show you results that have both ebook and audiobook format. If you prefer one or the other, if you're, audiobook only, that's okay. You can just select that option and it will resort the catalog to only show you books, that come in audiobook format. When you're browsing, so say you find something that you like, say it's this book right here, we'll go ahead and click on it. Now you can see this will open the book detail screen, and you can learn a few things here, including the format. You'll see there's a little blue headphone icon at the bottom left, or excuse me, the bottom right of the CD or the audiobook cover here. The title, author. There's also the borrow option. So you know that it is available to borrow right now. If it were to say reserve, then you would know it's checked out, but you could click on that to put it on hold. Next up, I can expand the details about the title here if you want to learn more, or collapse that to see less. And then at the bottom, there's more information, including the publishing date, the publisher, the distributor, the narrator, the duration of the audiobook. And then if there are other books by the author, they'll be listed down below. And so if we go ahead and click borrow, that will check this out onto our account. So you'll see now it's changed from borrow now to listen or return are my options. So you can go ahead and listen right in the player here. And so we'll take a look at the player. So now this is what it looks like when you go to listen to an audiobook in the app. It has the information at the top of the title, the author, the duration, the chapter info, the book itself, and you can see it's still downloading and it will tell you when that's done. For the player, you have the 30 seconds of fast forward and rewind. Along the bottom, there is the playback speed, so you can go ahead and change those if you have a certain playback speed. That's not the default. Next up, I'm on iPhone here showing you, and there's a little AirPlay button. There's also the sleep timer, so if you like to fall asleep to your audiobooks, you can select one of those. And then there's the bookmark. So if you go ahead and press on the bookmark, it'll pop up to tell you a bookmark's been added. So now up in the top right, we have the hamburger menu. So we'll go ahead and click here. So this is going to bring up the table of contents, and this is also going to bring up your bookmarks. So if you want to go back and find that bookmark later, you'll see it here, and then to get rid of it, you'll just swipe to the left to go ahead and delete that. So that's how the audiobook player looks. We'll go back here. So you can see now you can listen. You can also return. If you don't return it by the due date of the book, then it will just automatically return. You can return early. So I'll go back here, and this is the catalog screen here, and there's a tab at the bottom. I think there's like a little green pencil maybe that you're seeing on the screen here, but it's underneath on the very left bottom. And next to that, there's a tab called My Books. So if you click here, this is where all of your books go after you check them out. So that book will show up here. So if you leave the app and come back and you want to find it again, you'll go here. and scroll to the bottom, and now you'll see here it is. This is where you can access it to continue reading or listening. And again, you'll see under this one and all the other things I have checked out the due date. And so it'll tell you, this book is due August 13th in 20 days. So again, you can return it early or let it do its thing when you're all done. I wanted to show you an example. So here is the Indie Author of the Year 2024, Electric Trees. But you can see it's a little bit different because this book does not have a due date. And that's because it's a simultaneous use perpetual access title from Biblioboard. So it has no due date. You can keep it forever if you want to, or you can return it anytime, but it will really just stay there until you choose to return this title or not. So we do have a fair amount of books in our collection, including books from that Palace Bookshelf, which is our very large open access collection. So if you do check out any of those, just know they'll kind of hang out there until you choose to return them. I'll go ahead and click into a book as well to show you. So this one's called Bright Cooking. I'm going to read that to show you the reader. All right, so you can see here the text, you just scroll through left and right to read the text here. I want to bring your attention to the top of the screen. There's a few things to show. First, there's the magnifying glass. So if you click in there, you can search through the text of the book. So you can look for, cook, I just put in because it's a cookbook, and this will bring up all of the references to that word within the text of the book. Next up, we have the hamburger menu. That's the table of contents similar to the audiobooks. And this is also where you will find your bookmarks if you have any. And then here to the very right, that's the actual bookmarking mechanic here. So you can go ahead and click that. And then if I go back into bookmarks now, you'll see they're here. And again, you can swipe to remove them. And then finally, there is this small t, large T menu. And this is kind of our accessibility feature menu within the app. There's a few things that you can change. First, the font type across the top. There's the open serif, sans serif, and open dyslexic fonts. So if I go over the menu, you can kind of see how that changes. There's also the contrast for the background. So you can do white or the sepia tone or the dark mode for that. There's also to make the text larger or smaller. That's very big. You can do the small a, large a. So you can see we could do that, or we can make it very huge, but that would be very hard to read. But there's that. And then at the bottom, there's a brightness slider, which never really comes through well on Zoom, but that will increase or decrease the brightness within the reader. All right, so I'll go ahead and go back here. So that is how you kind of access your books that you've already checked out here. I'm going to go back to the catalog to also showcase searching. It's pretty much the same thing. So if we want to look, say we're looking for gardening, another one of my favorites. We have a lot of gardeners here on our team. Then that will show you, again, this is how your search results would look. You can also search by title, you search by author. This is general, subject. But now you can go through and see, okay, here's all these different things. So I didn't look for a specific book, but I just am interested in gardening. So I'll click in here. And again, I can borrow, or I can also preview when previews are available. So if I can say, okay, this is kind of what I'm looking for, and then decide to borrow it. All right, so let me go back here. And one more thing I wanted to highlight at the very bottom for libraries that have world language collections, languages, or content in languages that it's not in English, that content will be in the catalog. And we do create lanes to feature the content under the world languages section in the catalog. This library has Spanish content, which is here. So users can look by title or author for that content as well. But this is where we will group all of that for users that are browsing, looking for, a collection of content that is in another language. All right, so those are the main, oh, hold on, wait, there's one more thing I want to show you. So we looked at the My Books tab. There's also the Reservations tab. And so if you place an item on hold, This is where it will show up. And then once it's ready for you to check out, you will receive a notification. There'll also be a little red badge on the little reservations area that you've probably seen in many other apps indicating that there's an item checkout. For push notifications, you do have to enable that on the settings in your app, or excuse me, in your phone. So when you first download the app, you can agree to turn on push notifications. If you ever want to do it later, you can go into your settings and into the app settings to turn those back on. And then finally, over at the very right at the bottom, there is the settings tab. And this is your login, logout screen. So you can see here, we've got the barcode and PIN, and I could go ahead and sign out if I wanted to. And additionally, there is an option to sync bookmarks. So you can see this is toggled on. I can toggle this off. You'll use this if you are reading between two different devices. So say you're listening to an audiobook in the car and you're using your phone, and then at home you're listening on your iPad. You would just want to make sure you're signed in on both devices with the same card and that you have sync bookmarks turned on both devices. And then you can listen through between the two of them and it will sync as you move between the devices. And also here, there is a report an issue button. So this is if there is some kind of problem in the app. This is where patrons or you could go ahead and send a message to support@thepalaceproject.org that comes to our team so we can assist with any kind of tech support and troubleshooting. And this address might be different depending on the library. Sometimes the library has its own help desk and the email will go to them first to determine, is it a library issue? Is it a library card's expired or is it like an in-app tech support issue? And then in that case, they'll forward on the message to us. All right, so those were the things I'd like to share. And before I pass it off to Jill, I just wanted to ask, is there anything else people would like me to go over in the app while we have it up? And I will look in the chat.
Nothing in the chat, but feel free.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody has anything specific? Otherwise, we can always come back to this too. I'm the type of person who thinks about a question like 15 minutes after I've had the venue to ask it. So don't hesitate.
Yes.
I mean, who am
All
I
right.
kidding? It's in the shower at night. I'd be like, oh, I totally missed the opportunity to ask the question. But
Yeah, okay, no problem. I'll go ahead and stop sharing and then we can switch over to the slides and then I'll hand it over to Jill.
Thank you, Carissa, and thanks, Tara. I think one of the last things that we always get asked is, you have a lot of different components, as well as different aspects of the app. But what does this look like for a library partner? I work in XYZ type of library. How can Palace help my library community? Next slide. So we'll go over a few of our state partnerships as well as some specific institutions that we work with. But California State Library is a long-standing partner of ours. However, this year they launched a standalone library in the Palace app, California's Bookshelf, which is a virtual library card instance of their ebooks for all collection. So this is the statewide shared collection that has been made available to every library in the state that has adopted Palace. But now, because there are some libraries that haven't joined us yet, but they might in the future, and there are some areas that might never sign on, we wanted to ensure that everyone in the state of California had access to this collection. So as a result of this statewide barcode, the usage of the collection basically quadrupled overnight due to a viral press release. And while that usage is still stabilized, the standalone library drives most of the usage for the state. And the state is also doing some really interesting things with collection development grants. They are leveraging these grants as an opportunity for libraries to instill this idea of shared ownership in the collection. This allows a grant recipient to help build the statewide shared collection. Usually these are project-based grants, but sometimes it's a matter of fulfilling Holsteins. Sometimes they are specific to specific themes. One of our partners in Huntington Beach Library has done everything from working on marine type books to local history to some kind of clean romance kind of nice, cozy mystery types that really fit the needs of their collection. And again, individual California libraries have access to this collection and can configure the local collections as they would as a Palace library, and they can choose to highlight those as they'd like. Next slide. We're also partnered with a few libraries in Canada. It's one of our kind of emerging areas, but they have chosen to pursue Palace in a different way. Vancouver Public Library is one of our partners, and they're focused primarily on audiobooks and leveraging Palace as the premier place for their patrons to go for audio content. They're promoting exclusive content from Audible Studios, as well as their Always Available collection and content from Blackstone Unlimited, which is a collection, I think, of around 6,000 sim use access audiobooks. They've done a lot of curation in our collection manager in terms of doing custom curations with lists and lanes. And I've included on the screen one of their viral social media posts that involved Robert Downey Jr. It was quite fun to watch. Next slide. Another longstanding partner of ours is Connecticut State Library. They also have a statewide implementation, and they're unique in that it is a very small state with a lot of libraries. And at this point, we have, I would say, about 90% of the public libraries in Palace. And so they have built this kind of robust statewide collection, EGO. In addition to the single or individual library implementations, they also have a virtual library barcode for the Connecticut State Library so that anyone can access the Palace collection as well as their boundless content as part of EGO. The state has utilized this collection to propose supplemental copies of everything from summer reading books to local reading initiatives, including their All CT Reads, regional award winners, as well as nominees. They have the Nutmeg Awards every year, but selectors for the nominees or the shortlist are generally library and library users. So they have supplemented that collection, in the print collection, by providing some of those licenses in Palace. Lastly, they also support an IMLS grant, which I believe has since ended, but the content is still there. This is their Experiencing America collection, which is primarily DEI titles. One of our more recent statewide implementations, and I can say this now, we have every state library or every individual public library system in Georgia configured. They launched last year with statewide adoption, and we have partnered with Georgia Public Library Service to support implementation of their collection of their statewide shared collections. So similar to California, there were some funds that were allotted for individual libraries based on pop served to allow them to help build this robust collection, eRead Georgia. So some of that content was purchased from us as part of our Palace Marketplace. Some of that is the Biblioboards and use access content. They've just recently purchased a large collection of Georgia history materials. But basically, the idea here is to provide a robust platform for all of the, or most of the statewide shared resources. So that's inclusive of the very large ProQuest collection of about 150 titles, as well as children's content from Boundless, which is their eRead Kids, as well as the eRead Georgia content from the Palace Marketplace, and some use content both from Biblioboard and the Indie Author Project. And again, this goes back to the idea of providing a collection that builds for everyone. Next slide. Vermont, another small but mighty state, is a partner of ours. We work with the Vermont Department of Libraries, again, to offer Palace to those libraries who are interested in being configured. But they also came to us with a really interesting use case, which is their Book Vermont library. Vermont is unique, or maybe not so, in that they do have a large population of kind of temporary or part-time residents. So as a very large ski state, they do have people who have multiple homes, either in other states or people who come to visit. So they've set up this virtual library that is really geared towards residents and communities without palace in their library, but also those seasonal residents. So if people are going to be in, Vermont for maybe in 1 or 2 months a year and don't actively use their own public library, this is an opportunity for them to access their statewide shared collection. A lot of this is Vermontiana, which is titles about Vermonters, those regional book award winners, Vermont authors, and children's books and foreign language titles. And one of the things that we kind of came together to collaborate on were these decals that we've designed that can be placed in public spaces. So they're still in the process of getting those out in the wild, but some of the ideas that they've had is to put these at ski resorts. We've even talked about potentially putting them in jury duty waiting rooms or whatever the proper term for that is. It's just to ensure that people know that they have access to these materials as long as they're in the state. Last slide. And I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about one of our early academic adopters. New York University was one of the first academic libraries that launched in Palace at the end of December of 2022. And they are part of our very active academic implementation advisory group alongside Columbia and Cornell and some other institutions that are very active in trying to work through how Palace can help academic libraries. And I think the use case here is really interesting in that NYU came to us with the idea that they were really looking to streamline their ebook reading experience for students and faculty and trying to kind of get away from that disintermediation and reliance on dozens of siloed platforms, as well as providing an easier way to access ebooks on mobile devices. So we've integrated over 400,000 ebooks from vendors like ProQuest, OAPN, and the University of Michigan. Some of those are open access integrations that we've talked about. But the cool thing that they've done here is that they've utilized our Lane technology to support and highlight course books, as well as recent publications and their press titles. So they're trying to make it as easy as possible for students to figure out and find and discover titles that might meet their needs in terms of coursework, in addition to really highlighting publications that are uniquely tied to the institution. Next slide. So in summation, why should you use Palace? And I think this kind of touches on all of the key points that we talk in our talking points, but we're an easy to use app with a streamlined design that's really aimed towards lowering that technology barrier. So if you have aging populations that are interested in ebook access but are new to apps, it's a great place to start. We are an aggregator app, so we offer more of your digital content in one place. I know Chris had put up a slide with all of the logos, but we are continually looking to work and partner with additional vendors. So just because we have those partners now doesn't mean that we won't add more. We're actively pursuing relationships with ILS vendors, publishers, distributors, and more. Those shared collection materials can expand your collection. So by integrating statewide shared collections, working with other consortia, we do have consortia that we work with, it allows you to expand beyond what your local collection is to provide access to your patrons. We help alleviate hold SKUs by offering that alternative content source and featuring that overlooked content. So I think one of the big problems of readers is that our TBR lists are so long that we forget what we put on there. With Palace focusing on available titles and surfacing those to the top, patrons are still seeing great content that the library has put into their collection and has done the work to put collection development efforts to, that maybe they were popular a year ago, are still popular, but people forgot about. So it's still great content alongside the newest, latest, greatest that might have a 6 month hold queue, but it really gives patrons the opportunity to see what the whole of your collection is. We are a nonprofit, but we do also sell content. So we have those unique offerings and license opportunities, again, with a focus on providing libraries with unique licensing opportunities and really advocating for rights that are fair in terms of pricing as well as delivery. So more simultaneous access, more concurrent access, and more perpetual licenses. And lastly, we're community driven. So I think we talk about this a lot, but we really do look at our libraries as partners. My role as partner success leader. Um, and we don't take that term lightly. The feedback and guidance that we receive from our libraries helps us develop a stronger platform for everyone. And I can say this, we just came from our bi-monthly or quarterly development priorities meeting, where we as a team, Tara, Chris, and I, were able to take some of the feedback that we'd received from our library partners and advocate to get some of that work on our development priorities roadmap. So just because we have a conversation with you and aren't able to deliver something right away doesn't mean that that information doesn't go anywhere. We track and store everything so that when we have these meetings, we can go back to our team and say, this is what our community really wants right now. And with that, I think we have some time for questions.
I see a
And
few in the chat, and I'll note that we have our contact information and resources on the slide, and you'll all get a copy of that. So um, I can leave one of these up. There we go. Hit the right buttons. I'll leave our contact information up, and we have, of course, resources. Now, chat questions. There was one that I answered in the chat, but just for the sake of accessibility in the recording, I will chat it out and then answer it, and then we'll follow up with the other one, and that will give folks time as well. Please don't hesitate. You can come off mute and ask us questions, raise your hand. You can put them in the chat, however you're most comfortable. Um, please, we're an informal group, and we want to provide you with the information that you were hoping to get from this session. So if we didn't cover it, please do ask a question. So there's a question first of, so people are only notified when their reservation is available through the app, not a text or some other mechanism. And right now that's true. So Palace does not collect any personally identifying information. So we don't know what your phone number is. We don't know what your email address is to send you a hold available message. So as Tara mentioned, if you enable push notifications on your device, you'll get a notification. And then you also have an in-app notification for holds becoming available. Um, so that was the first question. The second question is, when we are using Palace, are we looking at all of these partner collections or just designated ones? I'm in California, so I assume I have access to the California State Library collection, but do we have automatic access to all of these others as well? So depending on what library you are a part of in California, many of the different public libraries or county libraries or system libraries in California are fully configured in Palace with their local collections from Overdrive or Baker and Taylor or Cloud Library, in addition to the statewide sourced materials that California State Library provides. So all of those would be provided to you and your users in California for your particular library. If your library in California is not individually configured in Palace, you can optionally sign up for the California's Bookshelf Library, which would then kind of walk you through creating a virtual library card, and then you have access to the state library materials. So hopefully that answers your question. But if it doesn't, or if I didn't, I misconstrued it, please let me know. All right, I see a long question. I gotta expand my box here. Okay, so the next question for ProQuest content, is that ebook central or another type of content? Yes, it's ebook central content that has appropriate licensing. So it's not even all of your ebook central content, and that is a restriction for coming from ProQuest. So the rest of the question in the chat, I know that ProQuest is starting to have its own app for ebook central books, which we just opted into to beginning in August. I believe that may change the way our ProQuest ebook central books are going to be available, not via Adobe Digital Editions anymore. I wonder if that will mean that they won't work in Palace Project anymore. Additionally, there was no mention of EBSCO, so I assume EBSCO ebooks cannot be read in Palace Project. So no, we don't have a working integration with EBSCO yet. We are working with our partners to advocate for movement on the EBSCO side to make a feed that we could integrate. So there's conversations and negotiations being had, but we don't have anything that's working today. And regarding the changes with ProQuest, I think it remains to be seen what the impact will be on Palace. We're working with our partners to advocate with ProQuest, not to revoke what they have already provided for an integration and make a proprietary format that we can't support. but I don't have any other insight there in terms of the direction that they're taking. More to come on that. Richard, I see you have your hand up. Feel
Yeah,
free.
yeah, thank you. I just have a question about content. Now, is the content in the Palace Project only from your content providers, or can libraries upload individual titles themselves? I ask because we're a music library, and more music score publishers are publishing only by PDF, and more publishers, more composers, self-publishing by PDFs, and we really have no way of doing controlled digital circulation. Right now, we just print out the PDFs, bind them like a paper, and circulate them that way. But I was wondering if we had Palace, if we could upload those digital editions and do controlled lending that way.
So the short answer is no. We don't have that today. We have, here's the more complicated, complex answer to the question. So we have within the ebooks and community engagement division, we have all of the technical components to make that happen.
Hmm.
So we have a like content management system which you could upload content into. What we don't have in that system is a way to control the digital lending piece of it. So that's kind of those restrictions piece is what we don't currently have in place. We have some work slated or like identified in our backlog, but we haven't had kind of a real use case, real life example from one of our existing partners to kind of move that, flesh that out and move that forward. So we have kind of conceptually the next steps that it would take to do that, but we haven't we've been focusing on other work and haven't really kind of fully fleshed that out as like a separate standalone kind of product or project offering. But
Okay.
um, really great question.
It sounds like it's in development, which is good. I mean, at least it's something that's on a radar that might be fleshed, like you said, fleshed out and developed at some point.
It
Okay,
absolutely is. It absolutely is, without question.
wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great question. Other questions from folks? And I'll note Tara put in the chat a link to our feedback board, which is where we encourage all of our community partners or even potential partners to voice their opinions in terms of what are the next features and functionality we should be developing, upvoting existing ones that are there, or adding new. So please don't hesitate to peruse our feedback board and add additional thoughts and comments or upvotes as you'd like. Let's see. Time check. We've got about 5 minutes left. Other questions that we can answer for folks? All right, we'll give it another minute. And if not, we'll let everybody go. Thank you all for taking the time to join us today. We know how busy everybody's schedules are and how many competing priorities you have. So we really appreciate it. And Karen, that's great. Just again, for accessibility purposes, I'll read out the items in the chat. Thank you all for this. I've had questions from our staff about Palace, and now I can make up some kind of training document. Karen, yes, please reach out to Jill. She's your go-to resource for that. You don't have to make them up yourself. We have pre-canned training materials, recordings that you can use as a base and riff on or use directly. So don't hesitate. Thank you all for your time. Please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us if you have follow-up questions. As I kind of joked before, but it wasn't really a joke, it is true. I'm the type of person who always thinks about questions I should have asked in the shower or when I'm driving later in the day or on the weekend. So please don't hesitate to email any of us. We're always happy to talk about Palace. And with that, if there aren't any other questions, we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week and you take good care of yourselves. And we hope to see you on an upcoming Palace session. Take care, everyone.